Rebound therapy offers a huge number of potential benefits and is one of the most popular activities in the UK for children with disabilities. The techniques were developed in Huddersfield, England in the 1970s by head teacher and remedial gymnast Eddie Anderson. Since then, the programme has continued to grow and develop, and now rebound therapy practitioner training courses are provided all over the world.
Some of the benefits of rebound therapy include internal organ massage, relaxation through the rhythmical motion of the trampoline, sensory integration through the stimulation of the environment, communication, they're required to interact with others and wait patiently for their turn. Also promotes balance, flexibility and core stability. It's fun, it's achievable and it has progressive activities that all people can work through.
If she's able to get her legs straight, we'll get her to get her legs straight, but we don't get too concerned with mainstream techniques. We'll adapt exercises to suit the needs of the student. So if she can only sit with her legs bent, that's absolutely fine, not a problem. So we had the student being passive while the teacher was providing the energy input, riding. So what do you think would be the logical progression for the student? The logical progression would now be for the student to try to initiate movement. Everything we do in rebound therapy is an exercise in its own right, but it's also a progression for something else. So we've done riding, so now we're going to try and get the student to initiate their own movement. So could you put your hands down and just push rhythmically into the bed? So now she's initiating her own movement. Okay, so the other way of initiating movement in a sitting position is by swimming arms. The harder you swim, the higher you bounce. So we're going to press on now. Freddie, could we have you on the trampoline, please? And can we have you in a hands and knees position? So whether or not he needs support, we can now gently ride the bed. See if you can maintain that shape and position. Now we can ride the bed a bit more vigorously. See again if he's maintaining that shape and position. So what now do you think would be the logical progression for the student?
Maybe teaching them to do it themselves.
To teach them to do it themselves, yeah. So could you now initiate the movement yourself by pushing your hands and knees evenly into the bed? Now Freddie is really good at this, but some people find it very hard to push evenly and equally through their hands and knees. So can you do it wrong for us? He's having trouble doing it wrong. But some people will buck, in which case you need to enable them to experience what it feels like to push evenly through their hands and knees. And you need two teachers for this. So could we have another teacher around the other side? We just want you to come and kneel down next to Freddie. Okay, so always ask first, can I put my hand over your hand? Can I put my other hand behind your knee? And if you can do the same, Rachel. Okay. And now we're going to ride the bed from kneeling and push down through his hands and knees. So he's now experiencing what it feels like to push through his hands and knees. And by Rachel and I riding the bed with our knees, he's also feeling that rhythmic pulse. And then over time, we can maybe reduce the support, perhaps go to here, until eventually we come away all together, and hopefully he's doing it on his own. Good, thank you. Okay, so first of all, we'll probably support her when she's standing first of all. And ride the bed. And then maybe reduce support. So the logical progression would be for her to initiate the movement herself, which she's doing now. Don't need to balance, just movement, okay? This is called bobble. Bobble. B-O-B-B-L-E. She's not bouncing or jumping, she's just initiating movement by pushing rhythmically into the bed. Okay? So now can you initiate movement by swimming your arms? Swimming. Again, you don't need to leave the bed, you're just initiating movement at this point, okay? Now can you hang, as if you're hanging from a bar? Now can you hang and bounce? So the only difference between bobble and bounce is that you push harder and leave the bed. This can be a very good exercise for people with a hemiplegia, because you get a sort of mirroring effect when one arm is straight, and the bouncing helps to shake it and loosen it. And if they understand that they're working on a development program, and every time they get a tick, they're closer to getting a badge, they might be motivated to try and get that arm straight. Same applies to the next exercise, pogo. Arms by your side, body tight and bouncing. So you can imagine somebody with hemiplegia, you know, the shaking is going to help, and they want to get their tick, so this might help them to start to straighten their arm. And the last thing we can do is jumping. Jumping, as far as the trampoline is concerned, is using your whole body. It's not bobble or bounce, it's using your arms and bouncing. So swimming your arms and bouncing. So that's jumping. And now can you stop and stay in stillness? Good. And the most stable position for stopping and stillness is motorbike. And stopping and stillness is a good exercise to teach, because the trampoline doesn't have to always be about movement. It can be about control and stillness. And if you had excitable students, you might want to make stopping and stillness part of the exercise. You can say you can get your tick and you can do the exercise and then stop and stay still for 3 seconds, or 5 seconds, or whatever it might be. Okay, thank you very much, Rosie. So we've now covered all the basics of trampoline gymnastic movement. Okay, we're going to look at popping now. So we've had the student being passive in a long sitting position, and we did riding, and we did more high energy riding, and we did pushing with hands to initiate movement. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Can you just show us that? And we did swimming arms to initiate movement. So now we're going to do popping. Okay? So I need to stand just below your knees, and can I have your hands? Okay. So I'm just going to gently ride the bed like this, and then on 3, always on 3, like ready, steady, go. Not after 3, because that's 4. 1, 2, 3, go. It's 4, isn't it? And it's really a good idea that everybody does it the same way, so that students always know what's going to happen and when. 1, 2, 3, ready, steady, go. Duh, duh, duh. If you was deaf, you could go. Yeah? So it's still the same rhythm. Yeah? So on 3, right, ready, steady, go. Okay? So I'm just going to ride the bed like this, and then on 3, I'm going to help you to stand. Okay? You don't need to do anything. You've got to remember that at this stage, the student probably has no idea what's going to happen, so you need to be completely in control of it. Okay? So you don't need to do anything. So on 3, I'm going to help you stand. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. And she comes. Lovely, thank you. Can you sit down again?
Yeah.
Obviously, the student has to have some standing ability. You might do it with a student that needs a bit of support, but they have to have some ability to stand. So what happened is I'm riding the bed, and then on 3, I'm doing a sharp push into the bed, and I'm transferring my energy via the springs to Rosie, and up she comes. Okay? I'm not pulling on her arms. Okay? That's what she's doing. Here we go. On 3, I'm going to help you stand. 1, 2, 3. Lovely. Can you sit down again?
Yeah.
So if she came up because I'm sharply pushing down into the bed, Why do you think I was holding her hands? To give her support when she lands on her feet. If she's a bit wobbly, I can either hold her up there or put her down gently. But there's another reason.
To give her a boost up as well, so you can...
Not to give her a boost up. The boost up comes from pushing sharply down into the bed. Why do you think she came up to feet? Why do you think she landed on her feet?
Because you were holding her arms above her head.
Yeah, because I'm guiding you towards me. What I'm doing is pulling the mass forward of the centre of gravity. So she'll pivot in the air. Does that make sense? By pulling her towards me like that, very gently, she'll pivot, and she's got no option than to land on her feet. If you didn't do that, this would happen. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, just landing the sitting position. But by guiding her towards you, she'll pivot in the air and come up to feet. So can we do it once more? Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. And it's quite nice, if you can, to take a step back afterwards so you're not right in the student's face. It's quite nice to give him a bit of space. He's not critical, and it might take a little bit of practice to coordinate all that, but it is nice to, after you pop them up, step back so they feel that their personal space is not being encroached. You happy with that?
Yeah.
Good. Can you do it to me then? Okay, so a couple of things to remember. You need to stand just below the knees. The reason for this is that there are only about 3 springs either side of the weight that are in operation. 3 in front, each side, and 3 behind each side. The rest of the springs are simply holding the bed on. So if you're too far back, you're using the bed to reach the operational springs and you'll lose a bit of effectiveness.
Okay.
Too close and you'll be in the student's face. But if you're standing just below the knees, you're 1, 2, 3, just about on the edge of the operational springs. So it should work quite well from there. And you're not so close as to make the student feel uncomfortable. Okay? The other thing, don't stand in your trousers.
No.
Because when they come up, you pull your trousers, can you? Put them down. So be careful, okay? So ride the bed and sharp push into the bed on 3 and guide me towards you.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
That was lovely. Really good. Can you do it again?
Like I was going to say.
And she took a step back afterwards as well. Really nice.
1, 2, 3.
Really good. Thank you. Actually, gave you plenty of space. Well done. Thank you. Sometimes you need to break exercises down a little bit and develop extra progressions. An example might be a student who finds it a bit scary going all the way from long sitting up to standing. So we could break it down. We could maybe sit them on something like a Swiss ball or a barrel and get them to go from high sitting first of all. So it might not be quite so scary going from higher up. So on 3, I'm going to help you to stand. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. So that might be easier for them. You might even have a teacher behind supporting. And then later on you might sit them on something smaller like the peanut until eventually they feel confident to do it sitting on the bed. Okay, we're going to move on to more practical applications. Yeah? Can I keep you as my student? Yeah? So would you like to sit down again? So we've done 2 hand support. Let's just recap on that. Stand just below the knees. 2 hand support. On 3, I'm going to help you to stand. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Can you sit down again? So it is nice over time to try and reduce the amount of support you give. And do try to eventually get down to doing it with 1 hand support. Because A, it's nice to reduce support, because as you reduce support you encourage independence, but also you might have a student that can only give you 1 hand. So we're going to do it with 1 hand now. Doesn't matter which hand, but it does matter about which hand you use. You need to hold the hand on the same side. Don't cross, because if you cross you might make them twist, yeah? So hold the hand on the same side. Exactly the same technique, push down sharply into the bed on 3, gently guide him towards me as he's coming up. So on 3, I'm going to help you stand. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Good. Can you sit down again? Now the time might come when you've been doing this for so long that the student fully understands what's required to get up to feet. And you might realise that you're actually not guiding them towards you at all because they're anticipating. So if that time comes, you could do it without hand support, couldn't you? But when you do it without hand support, at first, support on landing. And when you support on landing, hold the shoulders. Don't try and catch the hands because you might not be able to find them. So when you come up, you might flap your hands around. Can you just flap your hands around? There's no way I could find his hands. Do it again. But I can still get in there and catch your shoulders because they're not going to go very far. Yeah? So we've been doing it for months and months now, Freddie, and you know to lean forwards on 3. I know that you're ready, so we're going to do it without hand support, but support on landing. Okay? If you're not sure that your student's ready for this, then they're not. It's as simple as that, because you don't want to be going down to collect them because you'll get a head in your chin. You've got to know that they're ready and you're just going to collect them on landing. Okay? And you can't step back this time because you wouldn't be able to reach. Okay, so you've been doing it for months now, Freddie. You know to lean forwards on 3, and I'm just going to collect you on landing, okay? So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Enough count. Perfect. Well done. Thank you very much. We're now going to look at some exercises for your highly exuberant, bouncy, energetic students. Those that, left to their own devices, might jump a bit too high for their own safety and for the safety of spotters around the edge. These are exercises that enable them to have a great deal of fun, expend a huge amount of energy, develop their coordination. The exercises are on the development programme, so they're motivated to do them, if they understand that, because they can get the ticks when they pass them, and every time they get a tick, they're closer to getting a badge. And the important thing is they're low and safe. So this is called tweaking. So we've done pushing with hands and bouncing, remember that? Now we're going to add tweaking, which is bending and straightening the legs. So that's the first one. That looks quite easy, doesn't it? The next one is swimming arms, bouncing and tweaking. And again, this looks quite easy, but it's actually using the whole body in harmony. If anything goes out of sync, it will just collapse. If my arms go too fast, for example, just collapse. So it's using the whole body in harmony. It will only work if the whole body is working together in sync. So really good exercises for your highly bouncy, exuberant people. Who would like to come and try first? Come on, Rosie, have a go. So long sitting, pushing hands, bouncing, and now tweaking. Can you bring your knees in a bit more? Bring them in more. Bring them right in. Come on, right in, Rosie. That's very good. Very good. Okay, now swing your arms bouncing. And don't touch the leg this time. And keep tweaking. Don't forget to tweak. Keep going. She's really good. That's really good. Okay. Thank you very much. Well done. Of course, when your student masters a technique, you need to give them an additional challenge. You don't want them getting bored. And if you're creative, there's lots of things you could add to that. And I'll give you some ideas. You'll probably think of others of your own. You could add a clap, couldn't you? Or maybe 2 claps, 3 claps, maybe 4 claps. Yeah? Or what do you think would happen if you turn your head and shoulders while you're swimming and tweaking? You could add quarter twists, couldn't you? I have to show you this one. This is Eddie Anderson's favourite exercise. Eddie Anderson is the founder of rebound therapy. Air guitar. You pretend you're playing a guitar in the air while you're tweaking. Left-handed, right-handed, and then left-handed. So it introduces a different type of coordination. Cross-lateral movement is involved now, so we're working across the body. So it's more stimulating for the brain. So it starts with swimming and tweaking, and then air guitar. So there's quite a lot going on. There's the legs going in and out, arms going out to the side, and hands strumming up and down. And you can sing it as well if you wanted to. So there's a lot going on with an exercise like that. Anybody like to have a go at any of those? Go on, have a go, Rosie. Have a go at the turning. Swimming, tweaking, and turning. Swim, tweaking, and then turn your head and shoulders. Good. And back the other way. So now we're going to look at non-symmetrical exercises. These are really good for helping develop coordination and very good for stimulating the brain. So Freddie, are you going to be our student? So just come and stand in with them. And just turn around if you would. First one is quite easy. Can you just run on the cross? Now you can do that quite easily, but for many people they find that quite a challenge because you're having to compensate for the moving surface. You're used to a hard surface, but you have to compensate for the recoil from the bed. So now I want you to run on the cross and slap your knees. Now we're going to cross over, so right hand to left knee, left hand to right knee, swinging your arms across. That actually is very good. So now we're going to make it a bit more challenging. Low crossovers, reaching below the knee, keeping your leg as straight as you can. That actually is really good, Freddie. Thank you. Well done. Okay, we're going to look at an exercise called the Harrison Swivel. So Rachel, if you could get into a high kneeling position, and we're going to do all the progressions leading up to the Harrison Swivel. So can we have a teacher for Rachel, someone who's going to pop her to stand? Yeah, Freddie? So just stand in front of Rachel. Take your hands. Now don't guide her towards you because she'll fall over. She's just going to float straight up, okay? So ride the bed and then help her to stand. 1, 2. That's it. Lovely. That's all we need you for, Freddie. Thank you. So now, Rachel, could you get back into a high kneeling position? Swimming arms to initiate movement, and then don't let your knees to the bed. Remember, you always try and put the knees in contact with the bed because it can put a strain on your lower back. If your student couldn't do this without bouncing on their knees, what could you do to help her?
Support,
What sort of support?
it's like you hold the shoulder and the arm.
Damping. Damping. Yeah? Damping. You don't want her bouncing on her knees because it jars the lower back. Yeah? So now, keeping your knees on the bed, swim your arms, one big drive up and bring yourself up to stand. A big drive up. Lovely. Okay? Now exactly the same thing. High kneeling, swimming, one big drive up, but instead of standing, I want you to use the lift that gives you to give the time and space to turn to the side and sit down. Either side, doesn't matter which. And then maybe they'll go a bit further and a bit further until eventually you can do 180 degrees. So can you do high kneeling, swimming, one big drive up, turn right round and sit down. Swinging your arms, keeping your knees in contact with the bed, one big drive up, right round and sit down. So that is the Harrison Swivel. And the logical progression after the Harrison Swivel, and it may well happen automatically if you spent enough time doing popping, 2 hands, 1 hand, no hands, the logical progression would be to come up to feet. So all you need to add now is lean forwards, and then you'll come up to feet. So high kneeling, swimming arms, one big drive up, turn around, sit down, lean forwards and stand up. And that's the Harrison Swivel to stand. Thank you very much. So we're going to look at planking. Could you get into a hands and knees position first of all? So that's the hands and knees position, we all know that. Now can you lie flat on your front? Big stretch, legs together. That's the plank position. And we only ever teach planking on a mattress, never straight onto the bed, for 2 reasons. One, for some students it might be too difficult to coordinate lifting up the head as well as stretching the body out. So if the face goes into the mattress, it's nice and soft, won't do any harm. And the other reason is, if you don't land absolutely flat, and that's very likely to happen, the softness of the mattress will take up any uneven landing. But if you landed chest first, for example, straight on the bed, the recoil from the bed might bring your chest back up again before your legs have landed and could jar your back. So we only ever teach planking on a mattress. And this is an exercise where we have to insist that people take glasses off. So, you know, it wouldn't matter if your face went into the mattress, but if you were wearing glasses, it could hurt your nose or break your glasses. So could you get back into the hands and knees position? And I want you to bounce on your hands and knees. And at the top of the bounce, big stretch, and then flat in the lovely, that was really good. Could you do it once more? Bouncing, big stretch. So why do you think we even do this in rebound therapy? Any thoughts as to what it could be for?
Control.
Control? Yes.
Oh.
Did you say control?
No, I said front drop.
Not really, maybe longer term, but it's about developing control because it's actually much harder to land flat than Rosie made it look. Most people come down chest first. So we're learning spatial awareness and control of the body. It's encouraging a nice stretch. It's on the development program, so it's something else you can give them as a target. Of course, every time they pass something, you give them a tick and they're closer to getting their badge. But it's also a confidence building exercise because it's the first exercise we've done where we've allowed ourselves to just let go and we're trusting that everything's going to be okay. So for some people it's a little bit scary, but it's fun as well because you know you can't hurt yourself because there's a nice soft mattress under you. So it's sort of fun scary. It's scary but you want to do it. But the reason it builds confidence is every time you achieve something that you previously found a bit scary, that's how we build a little notch in self-confidence, isn't it? Action cures fear. That's an abbreviation of what Ralph Waldo Emerson said. Do that of which you are fearful, and the defeat of fear is certain. So it's a fun way of getting over little fears, just developing confidence. Thank you very much, Rosie. So we're going to look at the final progressions for the seat drop from standing now. Now, in rebound therapy, we don't get too concerned with mainstream techniques. We'll adapt exercises to suit the needs of the student. But we've now gone beyond rebound therapy. This is now the transition into trampolining. And for safety reasons, we do have to specify the correct position for a seat drop, which is legs as straight as she's able to get them, that's fine. But the critical thing is that hands are the other way around, with fingers pointing forwards towards the toes and hands just behind the hips, like they are. The reason this is so important, if she did a seat drop from standing and fell backwards, can you keep your hands where they are and just fall backwards? Just fall backwards, Rachel. You'll see that the wrist just extends into its natural position, no harm done. Okay? But if you had your hands the other way around, which many people find a more comfortable way to sit, can you just show us? And then you fell backwards, you can see that's going to put a strain on your wrist. Yeah? So it could damage your wrist. So we need to establish that they can show and hold a proper seat drop position before we go any further. If they can't, leave this exercise out. It doesn't matter. There's plenty of other exercises we can do. And always teach it on a mattress at first, because if she does make a mistake and turn her hand around when she's dropping down to seat drop position, at least the softness of the mattress will take up some of the jarring on the wrist. If she landed straight on the trampoline bed, with the hands the wrong way round, and fell backwards, the recoil from the bed could damage her wrist. So we've established that she can show and hold a proper seat drop position, so we can go a stage further. Now, can you stand in the middle? Bend your knees, lean forwards. Now, this is something you don't hear in mainstream trampoline. The lean forwards is an extra progression that we put in for people with special needs. So bend your knees, lean forwards, hands up by the top of your hips, pointing your fingers at your toes. So it's a little reminder, hands up by the top of your hips, pointing your fingers at your toes. That's it. Lovely. Now all I want you to do is a little jump, only enough to clear the foam. Slide your legs forwards, sit down and push with your hands. And that was a safe seat drop landing. Now, for stability, if you have your hands a little bit further back, you're less likely to roll backwards. It's not a safety issue, it's just stability. Could you do it once more for us? So stand in the middle, bend your knees, lean forwards, hands up on the top of your hips, right up on the top of your hips. That will help you get them behind your hips when you land. Point your fingers to your toes, little jump, just enough to clear the foam, slide your legs forward, down, push. That was a really nice, safe seat drop landing. Thank you very much, Richard. So the final exercise in grade 3 is actually a sequence of 3 moves. Tuck jump, half twist, start jump. But when you teach the sequence to your students, it's a good idea to separate the moves with bounces at first, because if you don't, they might mix them all together into one big move. So we need to get your students, get it clear in their head that each move is separate from the previous one. So the routine is tuck jump, half twist, start jump. Can you just do a tuck jump and then a bounce? Now can you do a half twist and a bounce? Now can you do a start jump? Okay. You don't need to jump that high. Now we're going to refine it a little bit. Can you do a tuck jump, 3 bounces, half twist, 3 bounces, start jump. So tuck jump, 1, 2, 3, half twist, 1, 2, 3, start jump. Now we're going to cut down the number of intermediary bounces. Just 2 bounces in between each move now. Tuck jump, 1, 2, half twist, 1, 2, and start. And when your student fully understands that all the exercises are separate from each other and should be mixed together into one big one, you can then take out all the intermediate bounces. So now just the one bounce that comes comes naturally after every move. So tuck jump, land on your feet, half twist, land on your feet, start jump. So tuck jump, half twist, start jump. Tuck jump, half twist. Do you want to do it once more? We'll start facing that way so you finish facing the camera.
Oh.
Tuck jump, half twist, start jump. And that concludes grade 3, which is the transition between rebound therapy and trampolining. Okay, so we're now going to film a snapshot review of the major rebound therapy exercises, starting with grade 1, section C. And we'll just take it in turns to demonstrate, okay? Would you like to go first, sir? So can you come up onto the trampoline? This is section C, grade 1. And Rosie, please would you be Freddie's teacher? So Freddie, can you get down into a hands and knees position? Because section C are all kneeling exercises. And Rosie, can you come and stand in front of Freddie? And I just want you to gently ride the bed while he maintains that shape and position. Do remember you can put a beanbag underneath him, not a beanbag, but Swiss ball or, or a peanut or something underneath him to give him support if you need it. Now can you ride the bed a bit more vigorously and make him bounce? Good. Okay, can we keep Freddie but let Rosie rest for a minute? So the logical progression now for the student is for him to initiate the moving himself. So can you push evenly and equally through your hands and knees? Good. Now can you get into a high kneeling position? Now high kneeling and swimming arms to initiate movement. Remember that what we're looking for is movement only, not bounce. This is a nice exercise for developing balance and control and stability, as long as you keep your knees on the bed. If you start bouncing, it becomes counterproductive because it jars the leg up. That's lovely. Thank you very much, Freddie. Okay, could we have Rosie as the student now, and Rachel, could you be the teacher? So this is section D, grade 1. These are the sitting exercises. So you sit in the middle. And Rachel, could you walk around Rosie slowly and close, and we'll see if she can compensate for the movement. Rosie, maybe you could put your hands in your lap to make it a bit more challenging. And the slower and closer you go, Rachel, the more work Rosie will have to do. But Rosie has very good core stability, so we need to make it more challenging. So could you pull your knees in tight? Really tight. Now can you do it? Walk around slowly and close. Whoa, much harder now, isn't it? So the game is, don't fall over, but the benefit is we're developing core strength. And we can make it more challenging still by standing behind her and holding her shoulders and seeing if she can regain her sitting position when you move her off balance. And backwards and forwards. Okay, now Rachel, could you come and stand in front of Rosie and gently lie back. Now can you ride the bed a bit more vigorously, make her bounce. Make her bounce. Push hard into the bed. Don't let your feet leave the bed. Rachel, that's it. Okay, we'll let Rosie rest, and we'll keep Rachel as the student now. So if you can sit in the middle, Rachel. So the logical progression for the student, logical progression for the student would be for her to initiate the movement. So could you push rhythmically into the bed with your hands? Good. We've already talked about how you could protect her wrists if she couldn't, or knuckles if she couldn't get her hands back on them. Now can you swing arms to initiate the movement? And now can you make yourself bounce? So swim harder and bounce. Thank you very much, Rachel. Okay, can we have three? So we're going to do section E of grade 1. These are the standing exercises. Can you bobble? Bobble. Bobble is just initiating movement. It's not bouncing or jumping, it's just initiating movement. Now swim. Not necessarily leaving the bed, we're just initiating movement from and hands, if you're hanging from the bottom. Now hang and bounce. The only difference between the bottom and the bounce is that you're bouncing and harder and leave the bed. Hold. Now do a few bounces and then stop and stay still. And that's the most stable position for stopping and still, which is motorbike. Okay, thank you very much. Grade 2, now you can have the rest. Grade 2, section A, popping. So can we have you two? Who would like to be the popper and who would like to be popped? Who's the student? Who's the student?
Yeah.
Rachel's the student, yes? So sit down then, Rachel, if you would. Okay, so long sitting, teacher standing over the legs, just below the knees, 2 hand support, ride the bed, and then pop to stand.
Maybe 1, 2, 3.
Good. So now we're going to reduce the support, 1 hand support. So long sitting, 1 hand support, make sure you're holding the hand on the same side, ride the bed, and then pop to stand.
1, 2, 3.
And the time might come when the student fully understands what's required and will realise you don't have to support at all. So can you now do it without hand support, but support on landing? And when you support on landing, you hold the shoulders. So this time you will step back using your hands to reach.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Good. And finally, you might be able to do it without any support at all, not even shoulder support. Can you try that?
Yeah, am I riding the bed?
Yeah, ride the bed and then pop it to stand. see if she can do it without any support at all.
Okay. Ready? 1, 2.
Thank you. Freddie, can we have that? Twinking. Exercises for your highly exuberant, bouncing, energetic students, keeping them low and safe, but enabling them to have lots of fun and expend lots of energy. So can you push with your hands and bounce, and then twink in the air. Swing your arms bouncing between you. Turn your shoulders as well. Oh, that was a turn this time. Okay, thank you very much, Fred. Rosie. We're going to look at section B of grade 2 now, some simple exercises, and we're going to explore how we can use them in a cross-curricular teaching capacity. So, could you come and stand in the trampoline? And could you do a few bounces for us? Now, can you do 3 bounces and stop instead of stops? It doesn't have to be 3, it could be 5, it could be 10, it could be 20, it could be a 2 times table, maybe a 3 times table. So a simple thing like jumping or bouncing you can use to help develop numeracy skills. So could you put your arms out to your side now? And Freddie, could you say hello?
Hello.
That's Freddie. He's on the left. So could you do a quarter twist jump to your left to face Freddie? Very nice. Now can you do a quarter twist jump to your right? So a simple thing like quarter turns, we can teach so many things through. We've already looked at fractions, left and right. You can do colour recognition by putting coloured cards around the trampoline, numbers by putting numbers around, letters, animals, whatever. There's no end to what you can teach. Let's have a look at the pogo bounce and see how we could use it to develop an understanding of position. So can you do the pogo bounce first of all? Can you move forwards? Can you move backwards? Can you move slightly to the left? And slightly to the right? Very nice. Okay, moving on. Rachel, can we have you as the student? Can you show us the hack fast multi touch? This is section C now, grade 2. We're going to do all the progressions up to but not including the starting. So can you stand in the pogo position and jump your legs apart and stop. Now jump your legs together and stop. Now legs up and arms up. Now legs together and arms down. Now part together. Keep it going. So they are all progressions up to, but not including starting. Thank you very much, Rachel. Who's next? Can you show us a roll call? Yeah, on the trampoline, yeah. On the back, in front, doesn't matter. And just roll over. Now, when your students can all do it, well, you could look at developing concepts of teamwork, couldn't you? So could you now lie at the end of the trampoline? And could someone come and lie next to Freddie? And could you come and lie next to Rosie? And the plan is we're going to do log rolls from this end of the trampoline to the other end of the trampoline, without the gap changing size. So let's just have a little 15 centimetre gap, arms above your head. And Rachel, could you take your team to the end, please? Keeping the same gap, no racing off, no bumping into each other.
Right, when I say roll, go. Roll. 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 Roll.
Okay, a big gap. Okay, so shuffle up again. And Freddie, could you take your team back to the other end?
When I say roll, we roll. 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 Roll.
Okay, well done. So it's a game designed with the concept of working as part of the team. Okay, section D, grade 2 now. Can we have one person stay on the trampoline and the other two come off? Non-symmetrical exercises. So could you just start by running on the cross? Good exercise. And knee slap. Now cross nose, right hand to left knee, left hand to right. And make sure you're swinging across the body. Can you do that? Now low crossovers, which is below the knee, hitting the leg straight. Not bad. Okay, thank you very much. Section E. Rosie, so you be our student, and Fred will be the teacher. This is section E of grade 2. We're going to do progressions for Harrison School. So Fred, if you could get into, Rosie, if you could get into a high knee position. And Fred, if you just take her hands, ride the bed, and pop her to stand. 1, 2. Good, okay. That's all we need you for, Freddie, but we'll keep Rosie. So now, Rosie, can you get back into the high knee position? Swing your arms to initiate movement. Keeping your knees in contact with the bed, remember? Keeping your knees in contact with the bed. And then one big drive up and bring yourself up to stand. Good. Now, same thing. High knee. Swing your arms, one big drive up, but don't stand. Turn to the side and sit. Swing. Keep your knees in contact with the bed. Lovely. Really easy. You can probably break it down to a quarter of a bit more. And finally, can you do Harrison swivel to stand? So when you sit down, lean forwards and stand up.
Facing the other way.
Yeah, Harrison swivel, turn around and sit down. Just before you go, everybody has a natural way to twist, and Rosie's natural way to twist is to her right. The left shoulder comes over the right. So it can be quite fun, quite challenging for your more able students, once they've got the masters technique of doing Harrison swivel, to do it again, but to twist against their natural inclination. So could you do the Harrison swivel to stand, but twisting to your left?
Try.
It's good can't bounce on the knees. You can do it once more, but don't let your knees lean down. Good, well done. So can you get into a hands and knees position? Now can you lie flat on your front? Big stretch. So that's the plank position. And you remember that we said we only ever do planking on a mattress. So can you get back into the hands and knees position, bounce on your hands and knees, and then at the top of the bounce, big stretch, and then flat. Lovely, thank you very much. Final exercise in grade 2. Can you get into hands and knees position, bounce on your hands and knees, and do quarter turns. Again. Back the other way. And then back the other way. Which axis is you? Thank you very much. Now we're going to do a snapshot review of grade 3. So this is the transition between rebound therapy and trampoline. So, Rose, could we please come onto the trampoline and do some jumping? Jumping with arms. And remember that we're looking to control and resist the pain to stay in the position. Now he shows a touch, which now shows a half twist. Thank you very much. And Rachel, can you do the first three exercises in section B? Jumping, straight jump and stop. Jumping, straight jump and stop. Good, but remember we're aiming for control and precision, so we'll be trying eventually to land on the cross. Now can you show us the start jump? Now 3 bump hops. Keep your hands on the bed. Which axis is this the start of movement? Thank you very much, Rachel. So we're just going to do a quick recap on the seat drop. So can you just come stand? Just stand on the mattress. So now recap on the seat drop. Remember earlier on we went through all the progressions and we explained the positioning. Now we're just going to show the finished article again. So seat drop onto a mattress. Bend your knees, lean forwards. Point your fingers to toes. Don't stick your thumb out like that. You might gyrate from the hand flat. Thank you very much. And then the final exercise is the sequence. Tuck jump, half twist, star jump sequence. Earlier on we showed breaking it all down, didn't we? Now we're just going to show the finished article. So tuck jump, half twist, star jump. Jump, half twist, thank you very much. And that concludes the way through. So we showed a snapshot review of all the major rebound therapy exercises, grades 1 and 2, and all the exercises